Fuel up yourself with G Fuel and use code Incon for 10% off your order down below in the description to help support the Twitchiest community. Hello everybody, we are here with your Anubis jungle guide. We're going to be grabbing ourselves an Assassin's Blessing, tiny trinket going into the ban crops, a Hand of the God, and I like to get 2 mana potions on the Anubis jungle. As long as you've got mana, you've basically got the ability to clear around, and you'll start to heal up a little bit with your tiny trinket and whatnot. Look at the composition that you're going against, Raven and Fenrir. So I'm actually going to get beads as my first active this game instead of blink, just because they've got a lot of dive capabilities. So I want to make sure that I can get out of some of this. On the Anubis jungle, much like he would in Anubis mid, he's got some pretty dang good clear, particularly once you get that ban crofts online. And so we're just kind of going around farming, using our ulti for those ganks. We don't have a blink, so we won't be able to go for the blink stuns, but we should be able to try to get around people and just hit him with a good old-fashioned stun right to the back of the head, and then smash him with the ult.
I see.
Level order is going to be just about the same as you would be over in the mid lane. So we're grabbing our 1 because this is our best clearing ability, even in the jungle. But we will not be maxing it first. We'll still be maxing our 3 and our 4. Gonna have our traditional jungle pathing here. We're gonna go underneath towards the red buff. This is some pathing that you're seeing more often nowadays. So instead of pathing all the way back up to mid, I'm gonna go straight from here underneath and go right over to the red. This is just a quicker way to get to the red buff, and also gives you the opportunity for really fast level 2 ganks over in the duo lane. Now, I'm not gonna be going for a very fast level 2 gank over in the duo lane because I am an Anubis and I don't actually have any CC here at level 2, but I am gonna go right for this mid farm. And we might even be able to contest actually over on their red buff. They're gonna be able to go start that red. So instead of contesting that red, I'm gonna put down a ward right here, and I'm gonna look at these right side harpies. These are already down, that's fine. We're just gonna clear this mid wave really fast. I'm gonna throw down my 3. Gotta be a little bit careful of my positioning going in for the 1 here. So we're gonna chill out, and we're gonna get our stun here at level 3. Once we've got our stun online, we can actually start to look for some more ganks. Without your CC, you really can't look for anything in those first 2 levels. That's why we prioritize that farming so much. Your goal is to get level 5 ASAP.
Good luck.
You really should never be afraid to split XP with your mid laner as a jungler. A lot of people get afraid, probably because they get yelled at in lower levels for the splitting of XP, but 2-way XP splitting is extraordinarily efficient, and so you should basically always be trying to split that XP if you can. Now I'm going to start rotating over the left lane. I'll pop this mana pot to make sure I've got full mana when I come over here. I don't have any damaging abilities up, so I'm actually going to wait just a second before I use my stun until my 3 is a little bit closer to coming up. That way we can walk over here and grab that kill. So I could have used my stun a little bit earlier, but then I wouldn't have been able to put her directly inside of my 3, which of course slows her. So I wanted to make sure we maximized the chance of grabbing that kill. Still just walking around waiting for that level 5 though. Gonna grab this red buff. At this point I could back up, but because I don't absolutely have to, I'm gonna try to farm out my full boots before I have to back. So we're going to be getting ourselves the shoes of the Magi in the jungle. This is going to help us with that clear just a little bit. Got to give us a little bit of extra damage potential as well on our ganks. So now we can back it up, grab the shoes of the Magi. Nothing wrong with shoes of focus if you so desire, but for the Gooby jungle in particular, I like the power boots. The lifesteal is also nice, of course. Pairing any sort of lifesteal with Anubis is always the way to go. But if you need the CDR, if you feel like you just can't do it without it, that's totally fine. You just might find that your jungle clear can be a little bit lackluster at that stage of the game without it. Our Erlang is going absolutely ham over in solo. I'm gonna rotate over here and just get his blue down so he can pick it up before he gets on out. And farming is the name of the game. For the ability level on Anubis, you're gonna level up your ulti every single time that you can. Then you're gonna max out your 3. The reason why you max out your ulti and your 3 is because you can combo these abilities together. Your standard combination on Gooby is gonna be 2, 3, 4. And so you can have those abilities going at the same time, and that's why you level up your 3 to max before you level up your 1 to max. Because you can't be using your channeled 1 and your channeled 4 at the same time. I'm gonna wait for Robin to try to use his overhead kick. He doesn't seem to be using it. We got a good setup from the Robin, so we're gonna be able, there it is. I don't think, oh, I'm gonna have to ulti right here. I wasn't gonna try to ulti him, but because he uses his overhead kick right there, and I get Persephone ulted, I know that I've got to ulti if I want to grab that kill. And this is going to be a really good exchange for us right here. Now we're going to continue working on our Bancrofts. Once we get that Bancrofts online, it is going to be really hard for the enemy team to kill us until they get their anti-heal online. Now we should be able to get this Bancrofts online way before the 10-minute marker. And there's no way for them realistically to have anti-heal until that 10 to 15-minute marker, even if they're getting it as one of their very first items. Only like the mid laner can basically have like a divine ruin online. Another thing on Anubis jungle that you might want to consider is not using both of your abilities on each camp. So if you split up your abilities, one on one camp and one on another, it can tend to help out your clear as well. In the early stages of the game, you're kind of just gonna have to wing it and use your abilities where you need them. Sometimes it's gonna be 2 on 1 camp, but as you get a little bit later in, make sure you're just using 1 ability per camp, because you're gonna have these fairly lengthy cooldowns. It's gonna affect your jungle clear if you're just throwing down every ability on 1 camp and then walking to the next one and waiting for your cooldowns to come back up. So try to do 1 ability on 1 camp and then another ability on another, and then you can try to cycle back and forth between those abilities. Grab a quick Persephone kill over at her red buff. Gonna throw down a little ward this way as well. Don't have my stun up for another 10 seconds, so I can't kill that Fenrir. But this Robin, on the other hand, is looking pretty tasty. So I'm gonna get chasing. I can see that he's already used his ultimate. So I'm just trying to wait for my 2 right here. He's gonna actually try to blink away. I'm pretty sure his overhead kick is up, but I'm gonna try anyway to dive through this. There's the overhead kick. He waited very patiently and smart on that. That was smart. I'm gonna go grab these oracles, and then after I grab these oracles, I'm gonna back my booty up. Now in oracles, I am gonna use both my abilities, because Lord knows how tanky they get if you let them get that skill off that they proc. Oh my goodness, they get so tanky so fast. So this is really where Anubis jungle is gonna start to thrive. Level 9, we've got our 3 maxed out. I had to put a second point on my 1 there for the clear, but we're gonna get a second point in our ulti here in just a second. And we are going to have lots of damage with our power boots and our Bancrofts. Plus we get a little bit of that penetration, of course, on our Assassin's Blessing. So we actually have 5 flat pen to help kill some of these squishies. It does genuinely make a difference. So once you get that Bancrofts online, the name of the game is gas pedal, especially if your ultimate is up. There is no reason for you not to be going absolutely ham just like that. Now I'm not gonna use my beads right here because I'm not afraid of them being able to aggro on me. I am gonna look towards that Persephone though. I'm gonna heal off that wave, and I'm gonna start running into their jungle. Anubis has a really good 1v1 potential. I gotta be careful here because I'm actually against one of the harder gods to go against. So I kill the Outpooch right there. The rest of their team rotates over. They actually might die for this because they don't have their ultis up. We'll see if they're able to get away. They are. Outpooch is an interesting matchup because he's got 100% anti-heal built into his kit. His 1 reduces anti-heal by 40%. His ulti can remove up to 60%, and those do stack. Then, of course, his 3 can stun you if you're healing as well. Luckily, Alpoosh just not that good of a character overall, but his anti-heal is particularly efficient against lifesteal. He's way better at reducing lifesteal than he is necessarily at reducing healing on like a Hell or a Ra, because so much of that healing is out of combat. And by the nature of lifesteal, you can't lifesteal out of combat. It's just not how it works. Now, what I do know now, though, is that the Alpoosh abilities are down, and so I'm going to immediately rotate over towards right lane, and I'm going to look for a kill on him. I see him out in the jungle. That's right. We're just going to be able to hit him with a little 2-3-1 right here and grab ourselves a swift kill. One thing you should always be looking to do in the jungle is what we call the double back. The double back is where you go over and you gank a lane. Right, so in this case, I walked over and I attacked the solo laner, and then right after we both respawn, I double back and I immediately go gank him again. The reason why you're doing this is because you know what abilities, what relics and things are down on that target. So let's say, hypothetically, I went over and I ganked the Scotty, and I see that Scotty has beads. Well, that's fantastic. Now that I know his beads are down, I know that I can walk over, immediately come back and get myself another free kill. Especially important in games where there's not a bunch of communication between you and your teammates. Another benefit of the Anubis jungle is that you get to walk around and do objectives. So Pyromancer is up. I know that there's a couple people over the left lane, so I feel comfortable just to walk over and do it by myself. As long as you've got the lifesteal in your build, mostly the Bancrofts, you'll be able to walk around and immediately do a Pyro or a Gold Fury. You can't quite burn the Fire Giant by yourself, but all the other objectives, you're going to be able to literally just walk up and do them. For doing those objectives, I recommend going through 1 rotation of your 1 and your 3 first, then auto-attacking until your 3 comes back up a second time. When it comes back up that second time, then throw down your 3 and your ultimate. The reason you want to do this is for 2 reasons. 1, it's going to have better secure on the objective. You want your ulti going for the secure. You don't want to be using your 3-1 when you're trying to secure the objective. And 2, you're going to maximize your lifesteal. At this point, you're going to have taken probably somewhere near half of your HP. And so you'll be able to use your 3 and your ultimate to start to heal you back up and get some better lifesteal. Now I'm going to grab my blink here at level 12. You can grab that blink as a first active. This game we were against some gods like a Fenrir that I really didn't want to just get picked up in his mouth over and over again just in case I got behind early, and so I went the safer route and got the beads. If you're comfortable with it, if you want to be more aggressive, you can grab that blink at level 1 and it will open up some earlier game gank opportunities for you. For our mashups on the Goobus jungle, we do not like to go against early big snowball gods because they're gonna beat us pretty hard, and if we get behind early we can be in trouble. So a god like Thanatos can be quite problematic for us. He's got so much damage in the early stages of the game, and if he like walks up to us and if he smacks us with a scythe and immediately kills us, we are in a lot of trouble. On the same front, gods that have low cooldown of ways to immunity frame are also problematic for us. So Raven tends to be a problem. Camazotz, because he can jump right over your 2. Those types of gods also tend to be problems for Gooby jungles. What you're looking to go against is you're looking to go against slightly later game characters, because that way you'll actually have them out cleared in the early stages, and then you can abuse your objective damage to try to get your entire team ahead. Gooby jungle really is a team pick. You're trying to get your entire team ahead by getting all these objectives down extremely quickly. One of the advantage to Anubis in the jungle over the mid lane is the fact that the jungler is always expected to be missing, right? So if you're playing him in the mid lane and you're missing, the enemy team is calling that every second. And so if they see you walk towards the Gold Fury, it's in the back of their mind you could be doing the Gold Fury. If you're the jungler, nobody's gonna expect you just to walk over and casually like do the Gold Fury by yourself. And so you have the advantage of being able to walk over and basically just solo it before the enemy team even knows. Because of that, it is often advantageous to be carrying around a sentry ward with you on Anubis. Carrying around that sentry ward is going to give you the opportunity to where if you walk in by an objective, whether it's pyro or gold, you throw down that sentry, and if they don't have a vision on it and you got your ulti up, you can just immediately start doing that objective and try to get it before anybody realizes. If they do have a ward on it, no harm, no foul. You counter the ward like the sentry was meant to, and then you just kind of walk away. As our third item, we grabbed ourselves a Typhon's Fang. On pretty much anybody that you're buying Bancrofts, you are still pairing Typhon's Fang with it. Typhon's Fang is great in this meta as well, because it does provide you with that 10% penetration on the item, and it stacks so well with other lifesteals. So we grab the Bancrofts. Always get Typhons as a second lifesteal item, not as a first lifesteal item. So if you're gonna get something paired with Typhons, make sure you do that first. Particularly a Bancrofts is very efficient with it. So I wouldn't necessarily get a Typhons if you're rocking like a soul gem. But if you are using the Bancrofts, always get the Typhon's Fang. As our fourth item, I'm going to be going Obsidian Shard. So I'm going to be stacking that penetration from the Obsidian Shard with the penetration that I am getting from my Typhon's Fang. And that's going to bring me up to 30% pen, not including the bonus penetration that I will get on my first damaging ability used. So that first ability will actually have that 40% pen. Gonna throw out some deep wards right now, one on left and one on this right-hand side. And I'm gonna sit here and take this tier 2 tower. Grab this wave before I back, if at all possible. And then I'm gonna start to run away and be safe here. I can see some farm is up over in my jungle. So we're gonna back up, get the Obsidian Shard, and get out of here. After Obsidian Shard, we're gonna start to work on Rod of Tahuti. Rod of Tahuti is almost a mandatory item right now for mages, particularly anybody that is a healing god or that has any sort of sustain. So this increased damage that we're gonna get from the Rod of Tahuti on low HP targets is just gonna stack so well with lifesteal, because we're gonna be getting extra damage. That extra damage means we're getting extra lifesteal, and we're just sustaining up so much more, not to mention just the flat out extra damage that we're doing on top of it. If you're playing a healer, keep in mind that that Rod of Tahuti also increases heals on friendly targets that are below that HP threshold. Always keep that in mind. For gods that we don't particularly like to see on the enemy team, we don't want to see a whole lot of anti-heal on the enemy team when we play Anubis. If we cannot build lifesteal items, it's a pretty significant deficit to us. So keep your eyes out for the usual anti-healing suspects, the Surkats and Osiris and Odins of the world. Outpooch in this game is not such a big deal. For gods that you like to pair up with Gooby, Gooby likes to pair up with some defensive gods in the support role. A Geb and Capri is wonderful to help keep him alive. He doesn't need any more damage. He just needs the ability to stay alive. So he likes a little bit more of those peeling type gods. This also means he tends to pair well with Guardians in solo, the Cerberuses and Ymirs of the world, those types of Guardians you see pop up in the solo lane, because they also provide a second level of peel potential for Anubis. So if your support happens to be dead, it's okay. You still got your solo laner alive. He can still try to peel back and help you. In other words, you would prefer to play Goobus with a very thick team. Luckily, right now, the meta is pretty thick in terms of builds and gods being played. So it's actually not an unreasonable time right now for Gooby to be played. So I'm waiting for this to get low. Then I pop my 3 and my ulti at the same time for maximum secure potential. I'm gonna die to the Scotty ult and the Alpush ult, but that's okay. We're gonna get 4 Fire Giants on our team and mostly a team wipe. On Anubis, I also tend to level the 2 last. So this used to increase the stun duration by a lot more. Now it's only 0.1 seconds per point you get ranked up, and the cooldown goes down 1 second. So I like to rank up the 1 before the 2 at the very end, and so we end up going 4, 3, 1, 2 on the Anubis leveling order. Keep in mind that all of your abilities, except for your 2 on Anubis, do go through walls. So you can't stun somebody through a wall, but you can hit them with the rest of your abilities. If they are around a wall, then yes, that does go for your Plague of Locusts. Speaking of walls, walls are your friend. You do not have a getaway skill on Anubis, which is always a little bit scary. It's actually a little bit less scary to not have a getaway skill in the jungle than it is in the mid lane. And that's because when you're in the mid lane, by default, everybody knows exactly where you are. When you're in the jungle, they have to kind of be guessing on your jungle pathing, or they have to have wards out in your jungle. And you've got a much better chance of winning that 1v1 than that, 3v1 that's going to be happening to you in the mid lane. Anubis jungle actually made pretty popular by our space station friend Cherio. Cherio plays a lot of Anubis jungle actually at high level ranks. One of the times that you want to be picking Anubis jungle is actually kind of in this meta that we're in. So we're in a super physical heavy meta, for those that haven't realized. Bless you in your games. But there is oftentimes 4 physical characters being played in 1 magical character. That's just because of how good the physical items are right now. The Sledge, the Gladiator Shield, the Pridven, heck, for Hunters, Atalanta's Bow and Kins. These are just very, very strong items in so many situations.
I'll attack right.
And so Anubis ends up being a good pick in situations where you've already got 3, 4 physicals on your team, and you really need a big magical damage character coming out of the jungle. Some of the more traditional picks that you would see here is something like a Poseidon jungle. Poseidon jungle would also totally work, but in a situation where you're thinking about going that Poseidon jungle, that's when you should also be thinking about rocking the Anubis jungle as well. Same type of philosophy for when you're picking it. So here at the end of the game, we're just absolutely running it down. Remember that with a lifesteal build, you never really have to back. All you have to do is look for 1 wave. All you have to do is look for 1 camp. And then you are going to immediately heal back up to full. So your first reaction on Anubis, if you're low HP, should not be immediately to back to base. It should be, oh, is there a wave near me? Oh, is there a jungle camp near me? If there is, I can walk over, 3-1 that, and you will genuinely get back up to 100% HP. With your Bancrofts, with your Typhon's Fang, if you still have your Assassin's Blessing, I promise you, you will 100% absolutely full heal. At the very end of this game, it is crucial that in the late stages of Anubis jungle that we grab a defensive item. This is usually going to be a Magi's Blessing or a Mantle of Discord when you sell that Assassin's Blessing. Traditionally, it's going to be the Mantle of Discord, but I want you to keep the Magi's in mind in case they have an extremely heavy CC team. That's kind of W king at you. You might need to get that. And then if you sell your lifesteal boost at the very end of the game, you might end up needing the other one. So you end up with 2 defensive items. If you don't need both of them, then that opens up a lot of doors for you. You can go a little hybrid with the Pythagorean's Piece. You can get yourself a Spear of the Magus for single target damage. You can get yourself a Divine Ruin at this point. If they had a bunch of healing on their team, chances are I would have needed a Divine Ruin earlier in this build to help counter some of that healing. So you really do have a lot of options. And that, guys, is our Anubis jungle guide.